We're following some very big breaking news tonight, news that will come as a big blow to Donald Trump and his agenda. Tonight, a three-judge panel in New York has effectively balked almost all of Trump's disastrous tariffs. Trump's tariffs against Mexico and Canada, his tariffs against the EU, against China, his tariffs against uninhabited islands with nothing but penguins and snow. They are all blocked by this federal court decision. It comes out of the United States Court of International Trade, which is a specialized court you may or may not have ever heard of, but it deals specifically with trade issues. A three-judge panel consisting of one Reagan appointee, one Obama appointee, and crucially and importantly, one Trump appointee, ruled unanimously that Trump's trade war is essentially illegal, that he does not have the authority to enact these sweeping tariffs on his own. When Trump signed the executive order enacting these tariffs, he cited something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a law that gives the president the authority to use tariffs in times of national emergency. And in their ruling tonight, the judges write, quote, "The question is whether the International Emergency Economic Powers Act delegates these powers to the president in the form of authority to impose unlimited tariffs on goods from nearly every country in the world." The court does not read the law to confer such unbounded authority and sets aside the challenged tariffs imposed thereunder. The law does not grant tariff authority to the president simply when he finds or determines that an unusual and extraordinary threat exists. I sense a little snark there. I appreciate it. But man, when you put it that way, it all kind of makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not an expert in international trade law, but Trump's justifications for these tariffs have always been pretty thin, as Chris and I were just talking about. Trump claimed his tariffs on Canada were to stop fentanyl trafficking, even though less than 1% of the fentanyl we seize at the border comes from Canada, less than 1%. Now, for the first time, we have a federal court saying that we all kind of sort of knew to be true already. The president's justification for this trade war is BS. And that is not all. The court tonight also ordered that all of the tariffs Trump has collected so far be vacated. Just how that will work, especially from a White House that doesn't exactly abide by every court order, and what that will all mean, I do not know. This is just breaking this news in the last couple of hours, but I have the right person to ask. Starting us off tonight is Arizona Attorney General Chris Maize, who co-led this lawsuit against Donald Trump's tariffs. Attorney General Maize, thank you for joining us on such short notice. This all just happened in the last couple of hours, as you well know. Let me just start, because I think we're all trying to digest this, and people at home are wondering what this exactly means. It's our understanding that this ruling applies to all tariffs except for the ones imposed on steel and aluminum. First, is that right? And can you just give us the scope of the impact of this ruling tonight?
Sure. Thanks, Jen, and thanks for having me. It's a huge day for American consumers, for small businesses all throughout this country who were on the precipice of being absolutely devastated and harmed by these tariffs. And so we are celebrating this. We, like you, are still digesting it. But essentially, you're right. I mean, the Court of International Trade, in a very thoughtful decision, said that essentially all of the tariffs that Donald Trump engaged in under IEEPA, basically the April tariffs, are unlawful. And so they are enjoined. They are essentially enjoined as of tonight, as you and I are speaking. It looks like the Trump administration has made it clear they're going to try to appeal this decision, and they'll probably seek a stay. But for now, this is good news for the people of America.
No question about it. I mean, there's been understandable panic, concern about costs in so many areas of goods that people rely on. I want to get to the legal next steps in a moment, but I just want to ask, I mean, the three-judge panel also ordered that any tariff payments already collected be vacated, which sounds like it means be paid back. Is that what it means? And how exactly would that work?
Yeah, I think we're still sorting through that, so I don't want to be too declarative about that. But yes, essentially, it vacates the tariffs and it enjoins them from going forward. So that's why we're expecting Trump to try to appeal this decision. It'll probably end up at the United States Supreme Court at some point in the very near future.
So just in the last minutes, right before we came on air, the Trump administration did file a notice of appeal, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you, as you were just saying. Yep. It also it's always seemed weird that Donald Trump just had the unilateral power to wake up and decide to put tariffs in every country in the world for whatever reason he decided. I mean, as a layperson. But even with this appeal being filed and with some of their aggressive responses, he's also somebody who doesn't really have a history of complying always with court rulings. So what happens if he doesn't? I know we're just digesting this, but have you thought about that with the others who filed this lawsuit?
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. And, as you know, the Democratic AGs have sued Donald Trump now, I think, more than 20 times. On a couple of occasions, you are right, he has violated federal court orders. And what we have done is we have gone back into the federal court when that happens, and we have asked for what's called a motion to compel. So I suppose if they try to continue to collect these tariffs and they try to continue the tariff schemes, despite the Court of International Trade's opinion, we would have to go back in for a motion to compel. Let's hope that's not necessary, and let's see what happens next.
We will see. We'll have to keep talking about it with you and your other Democratic AGs. In a statement, they've had a pretty aggressive response to this, is one way to define it. But I think it's so important to untangle all of this, and you're the perfect expert to do that with. In a statement after the ruling, the White House said America's trade deficits constitute a national emergency, and that's up to the president to decide, not judges. I mean, essentially, the court seemed to say the opposite. But what do you say to that?
No, that's right. And so there's a couple things here. Number one, fundamentally, the power to levy tariffs rests with Congress, right? And as you know, nowhere in IEEPA does it even mention the word tariffs. Now,
it's now official. Elon Musk is leaving his role as a special government employee in the Trump administration, with a White House official confirming to me tonight that he is going to start the offboarding process this evening, which essentially includes paperwork. It's not totally clear what else. But we did see Musk post this on his own website, saying, as my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I'd like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. The DOGE mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout government. This is all coming as Musk has recently tried to distance himself from the administration to a degree, including when he criticized the president's big, beautiful bill, something the president was asked about today and essentially shrugged off.
Well, reactions, a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support, and we have a lot of support. We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill, but the beautiful is because of all of the things we have.
Here's what Elon Musk had to say about that bill, which the Congressional Budget Office has estimated would add more than $3 trillion to the federal deficit.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
My source on all of this tonight is the veteran tech journalist, Cara Swisser. And Cara, it's great to have you here. What do you make of Elon Musk officially leaving his role that he is tonight?
Well, it's a long goodbye, isn't it? I mean, he seems to be leaving and going out. He needs to work on his company. This was inevitable that he was not going to stay there very long. And it pushed along by the fact that his businesses are a bit in distress. And so he needs to pay attention and do his actual job.
Do you think he's actually leaving?
I think he's probably frustrated by the pace of government. And when he goes back to his companies, he says jump and they say how high. At the government, they don't do that. And I think he found a lot more difficulty in finding real cuts and everything else. And I think they're only sending $9 billion in DOGE cuts which is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket, which means pretty much his effort was a failure.
Yeah, that's what they're planning to send up to the Hill based on what we know so far. But I mean, $9 billion might sound like a ton of money to someone who's watching, but when you think about his stated goal of $1 trillion to cut coming in,
$2 trillion at first,
$2 trillion initially, then that was halved to be more realistic.
Yeah,
I think that puts it more in perspective of how much there was this high bar that they did not reach.
No, it's what they spent on paper clips. I mean, it's really not a lot, and he didn't find it. He was able to do it because he made cuts in particular areas, some of which were regulating him, like foreign budgets, maybe attack NPR, attack things like that. But it wasn't significant cutting that they were talking about, which is reforming government extensively. And as he correctly pointed out, you can't have a bill that's big and beautiful. You can have one or the other. And, Musk can do math, I think, and he understands the deficit. This $2.3 billion or more raising the deficit is very dangerous for this country, which was something I think he genuinely wanted to help fix.
Did the president's response when he was asked about Elon Musk saying, it can be big or it can be beautiful, it can't be both, which he said with a laugh there, but I do think is a point that he actually probably believes. Were you surprised that Trump didn't have a stronger response to that?
No, because he was just saying, that's the way it goes here up in there. Like, I think he was acknowledging that this is how it happens, this is how the sausage is made. And I think Elon thought, because the way he runs his own companies, that he could just come in and trample everybody. And I think that was one of the problems. I think he bullied cabinet members. I think he ran over things. He took a lion's share of the attention, the whole chainsaw thing, which is, thank God, a distant memory. And I think he did a lot more showmanship than he did actual work.
I thought what he said to the Washington Post in an interview was interesting. He said, Doge has just become the whipping boy for everything. Something would go bad, something bad would happen anywhere, and we would get blamed for it even though we had nothing to do with it.
Oh, woe is me. So that's what, when you're on the big leagues, that's what happens. You have to take blame. And he attracted attention to himself, so he has no one to blame but himself in that regard. I mean, he wanted the attention, he wanted the power, he showed up in cabinet meetings, and then he was mad that people didn't agree with it.
I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but on the night that Trump's tariffs are declared illegal, Elon's officially going. And that probably means other people are going to go with them. A lot of the Elon camp of people. I'm sure some will stay, maybe, I guess. But this is a big blow to Trump. He's losing his vice president, really, his real vice president. I know on paper, whatever his name is, JP Stance, whatever his, remember how Trump didn't know his name a couple years ago? He's still around, but Elon has been, since November, the real vice president. And at times, maybe president, if we're being honest. And he's leaving, and at a time where Trump's whole regime is collapsing. Because what's been demonstrated is that not enough people have been opposing him yet, but more than he expected have been standing up to him and Elon. And whether that's voices in the media, whether that's voices in the Democratic Party, whether that, most importantly, I think in a lot of ways, thousands and thousands of you online, but protesting at the town halls and the rallies and the protests, have been making it clear he's not going to get away with this. And you're seeing it in the courts. The courts have, by and large, been pretty hostile to Doge, pretty hostile to Elon, pretty hostile to Trump's moves, and you see it tonight. Trump's unilateral break-everything moves that are typified by Elon have been rejected tonight in the courts. I know Elon was sort of divided on tariffs because he's more of a free market, hyper-capitalist, exploitive person who wants to crush unions at all costs but loves free trade. But I think this is a moment where Trump's world is collapsing.